Hi everyone, here is Alex from Data Intelligence School, and today I'm going to show you time intelligence functions from Power BI. They are powerful functions created to help us to improve our performance using Power BI and to save us time. That is very important nowadays. So let's start here on my screen. I'll show you what I already created and how you can do the same. And after this lesson, I'll provide you a link where you can download the PBI file, okay? So let's start it. I'm gonna create a table. It's the best way to show you the data. A big table here. And you can see I already created a lot of functions. Each one of them I will use it, and I'll explain to you how to do it in your case. And to start, I'm going to use the fact internet sales from AdventureWorks example from Microsoft. And I'll select due date. I don't want to use the hierarchy. I'll use just the date. Okay. And we can start using this one here, closing balance month. This feature here, this measure here, brings us the last date of the month. So what we have here, our balance month, as I'm using closing balance month, our Power BI will return the last day of the month in the context that we are using. In this case here, we don't have slicers, we don't have filters, we don't have any change of context. So the only context that we have is this, our due date. So I'm gonna use it here. I'm gonna put above our due date, the closing. Oh, come on, let's just mark. Okay, it's okay. What we have here, we have our the same value as you can see here. Come on, now it will work. We have due date here. For example, we have January 10, 11, 12, and we have the same value here. How come? Because we are using, let's go back here, we have sum of sales amount from internet sales, and our filter here is due date. So what Power BI does in this case here, it will sum sales amounts using this function here actually uses the last day of the month. Okay, so this is why we have the same value here for for every date in January. But you can see here in February we have a different one because we have a different month, and for each one of the dates Power BI goes to the last date and sum the values of our closing dates. Okay, the same thing here you can see is that here I have my notes. Okay, what we have here is closing balance quarter. So different from month. Let's see what we have here. Oh, come on, don't want this one. We want to use the same table that we were using. What we can see here is that the last date in this quarter here, the sum amount is 25,000, not 38,000. Why? Because 38,000 is the sum of the last day of the month. Okay, but here the last day of the quarter is here, this one here, last day from March. So remember, we don't sum the quarter up to the last date. This is the sum of just the last date of the quarter. Okay, so closing balance month, closing balance quarter, and now closing balance year. We have the amount of sales in the last day of the year. In this case here, let's go to the end of 2011. Almost there. Papa, here. What we have here, let's, okay. We have here 29,000. You can see here, the last day of the month is 29,000 in sales. Last day of the quarter is the same as, and last day of the month is the same too, okay? So here you can see how we created the measures. The first one here, closing balance month, we have to use a function that I use sum, okay? You can use any other one. Sum, I'm summing here fact internet sales, the column sales amounts, and I'm using here fact internet sales due date as our parameter. The same thing for balance quarter. I just changed the function, the structure is the same, and closing balance year is the same structure. We just replace the name of the function. Okay. Our next function here is this date add. Date add we use in conjunction with another function. So we can just put here in our table because it returns another table, and the table here expects one single value. So, but it's very simple to understand what we have here. Date add, this function, we have a date that in this case is the same, due dates, the number of periods in this case 1, and the period itself. So we can use day, we can use month, we can use quarter, you can use year. For example, here a quarter, and Power BI will add a quarter to each one of the dates that he receives as a parameter. Okay, we will use this function later. So back here to our table, let's use dates between. Dates between brings us, let me select here in our table, and okay, here we have, and let's show you what we have. Dates between number of orders last week means that we have here is a kind of complex but totally understandable, and we have calculate distinct count of sales order number. So we have a count of unique sales order number, okay, and but in what period we have, or in what range actually we have dates between. We are using the function here. What due dates, the same due dates, and here I'm gonna show you the use of date add. So I'll go back 7 days in our calendar. Here we have date add -7, and the period is day, okay? And I'm using the last date in the context to inform Power BI. So here in our context, here we are in January 27th. What is our context? Our context is January 27th. The last date of this context is the date 27. And we have here 7 years, 7 days back. We went 7 days back, and the last date of fact internet sales due date is the 27th. So imagine 27, we go back 7 days, and we have this distinct count. We are counting the unique sales order numbers. What we have here, we have, let me see, 31 orders in the last 7 days. And here we have 32 orders, 34, 33, 42. So we have the different number of orders in the last 7 days, because the 7 days is calculated from our context. Okay, and we have a different number here, that different function. Let me select here dates, not date between, but dates in period. Is a kind of different, a little different actually way to return. In this case here, I'm using the same distinct count to return us the number of sales order, the unique sales order numbers, and the same due date as our base date. And I'm going to use the max date from our context. Remember, is the date that we are using here in the table, and going 7 days back. Okay, let's select. Here is a kind of different the way that Power BI calculates. Let's see here. Okay. In some cases they are the same, and in some cases we have different different numbers, because the way that Power BI is calculate are different. Okay, you can understand, you can see in your scenario, you can do the same thing that I'm doing here, and you'll see that Power BI uses different ways to calculate when you use dates between and when you use dates in period functions. Okay, so we already have a lot of fields here, a lot of columns. Let me show you a more simple ones. End of month is like the name tells it itself, returns the last date of the month. End of quarter returns the last date of the quarter. End of the year returns the last day of the year. And this is interesting because end of the year will always return to us December 21st. Okay, so first date is like very simple too. The first date of the context. Last date the same. Last date of the context. Next day. Here I'm using to calculate the sales amount for the next day. Let me show you this. I'm gonna select this one. You can see that I'm using a calculate function, summing the sales amount and using our context, changing it to next day based on due dates. So here what we can see is that, well, we have a lot of columns here. Let me remove some of them. This date too. Here I think is a good way to show you. Next day, 2 decimal places, and here we can compare the values. Let me see here. I'll bring sales amount, and we can compare. Here is a good way to see. So for example, we have here January 10th, our sales amount, January 11 actually, our sales amount is $13,931.52. And you can see here the next day. Let me change the order. Okay, so here I have the next day sales. That is the sales from January 11th. So you can see here we always have the next day here compared to the other one. Okay, I think it's clear now that you can see visually here the difference between them. So going back here, we have a lot of functions. Next month, let's see the same thing. Let me show you here. You can see this is the sum of the next month sales. Next quarter is the same. We just replace the function here. Next year is the same one. And okay, so you can see that we have the same way of function. They work in the same way. So yeah, let's continue here. Opening balance month is the same, returns to us the balance of the first the opening balance of this month the month in context actually. So it's the first day of the month. Let me show you here. When we select, here is an interesting thing. You can see here that we have in January, we don't have here, based on the calendar dates that we are using, we don't have first day of the month in our context, because our month starts on day 10. But you can see here that we have in February, we are using here opening balance month. What is the balance month in February? Obviously, is the last day of January. That you can see here. Let me remove some of the columns. Okay, so what we want here, the sales amount of the last day from January is here, 38,241. Okay, and now what is the opening balance month for February? The last day in January. So here you can see 38,241. Okay, you can see here represented visually. Well, that's good. The same thing happens with opening balance quarter. As you can see here is the same thing. We just replaced this function here. And opening balance year, the same one. Now, let's select this one, opening balance year. And it's interesting what we can see here. We don't have the first day of the year here, so because we start in the day 10, as I already told you. And here, let's go to December. Oops. Okay. Here is 29,121 and 98 cents. Is in 2012 is the balance that we are opening the year. That obviously is the last day of 2011. You can see here 29,121 here, sales amount from the last day of 2011. Okay, let's go back. Very simple functions, like you just have to understand why they exist and use it in your reports and dashboards as you need. Okay, so let's go back here. And here we have a parallel period that is Power BI brings to us, in this case, the sum of sales amount, shifting a period. In this case, we are shifting month. Our period is month. We can use different month, quarter, and year. So I'm using month and -1. So I asked Power BI to shift 1 month before in the context. Okay, let's take a look what it represents visually. So parallel period. Let's select it. Not like this. We want in the same. Okay, select this one, parallel period here. In parallel month, you can see here that I'm using the sum of the previous month. And let's pay attention here because it's a kind of tricky. Here, what is our context? We are in month 10, okay? We are in October. And I used here the function to return the total value from September. So I have to, I'm using here sales month to date. And the last day in September means that we have a total sales amount in September of $609,121. So what I have here in the other column, the total amount from September in October. Okay, so you can see all of the values here are 609,000 because it's the last day from the previous month. Okay, if we go back here, we go forward, and you can see the last the total sum of sales amount from October here 655,000 is the same that we are showing here, okay? Showing up here. So parallel period, as I told you, is here. We are summing the sales amount, and we are using a change of context here. We are shifting a month and -1, so 1 month, 1 previous month. Okay, the same thing for previous day. So we are using previous day, but in this case, obviously, we don't have to inform Power BI the number of periods, neither the type of period that we want to shift. This one is shifting previous day. So I'm gonna use it here to demonstrate to you. I'm just gonna remove some columns. Again, I removed what I need. Okay, let's go back to sales amount here. Come on, sales amount. And here, next, previous day sales amount, I already have here. So you can see here, in October 16th, we have our sales amount 14,000, previous day 17,000, and is the same value as here in October 15th. Okay? Previous month and previous quarter, they are the same. We just need to use a different function here. Previous month, previous quarter, previous year, and so they all works very similar. Here we have another function that is pretty interesting. Sales month to date. Power BI sums to us the total amount of sales. In this case, I'm using sum of sales amounts. Okay, I can use different functions and different columns. But the context that I'm changing here is I'm telling to Power BI that I want dates, month to date. So what do we want here? If I'm in the first day of the month, my month to date goes up to the first date. If I'm on day 10, say month to date goes from the first day of the month, day 1, up to 10. Okay, let me show you this. Let me show you here how it works. Okay, I'm gonna select sales quarter to date and year to date so you can understand better what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go to the first one. Here we are. You can see here, for example, we start our month, our data here on January 10th and 11th, and here we have 11th. Okay, so we sold $14,000 in the day 10, and all $13,000 in day 11. Okay, what we have here, the sum. Sales month to date sum equals to the sum of this value and this value here. It brings us $28.4 thousand. The same value here from sales quarter to date and year to date. It is obvious, like we are starting to sum here. But here you can see we have the same values up to, here. The last day in January, we have month to date $323,000, the same quarter to date and year to date. But in the next day, February, we have this value here, sales month to date is 0. It starts counting from 0 again because we have a new month. But quarter to date didn't start back from 0. It continues. The same for sales year to date. Okay? And let's see here. Sales quarter to date. We have 1 million and up to here. And March 31st actually, We have the last day of our quarter, and April 1st, we have another quarter and another month. So what we have here, a new value for month to date because we have a new date, and quarter to date, a new value because we have another quarter starting. But year to date, we don't have a new year starting here. We will have here 2012. Where are you? Here we are. You can see that our last day of the year is this one, and we have a total sales of $6.8 million, and first day of 2012 we have 17,000. So again, sales month to date, quarter to date, and year to date, they are the same because we are starting a new month, a new quarter, and a new year. Okay? Good, good. Let's go back here, and we are almost there, almost finished. So our next function is same period last year. What this function do? What we have here is same period last year. We are telling Power BI that we have, in this case here, where we are using calculate function to change the context, and we want to sum sales amount, but our period is different. We want the same period as this context here, but in the last year. Let's use it, add it to our table, then I can show you better. What we have here, you can see that we don't have same period last year here because we don't have this data in our database. But we have here January 10th, we have $14.4 thousand in sales. What is this this value here? Is the same period but in the last year of summing sales amount. So we are here in January 10th. Let me show you 2012. January 10th, 2011 is $14.4 thousand. Okay, let's go back just to compare. Here we are. 14.4. Here is the same, so Power BI is using the same period in this context, but going back 1 year. Here we have $13.9 thousand in sales, and our context is January 11th, 2012. It means that Power BI is bringing us the sales amount from the same date, but from 2011. Okay? So this is the same period last year. It can help you a lot. You don't have to develop, like to create from scratch all of these functions. You can use what the guys from Power BI development team already did for us. Okay? So what we have here, start of month is the same. Will bring us the first day of the month in our context. And we have to use it returns actually a table, so we have to use it in different in conjunction with another function. Start of the quarter is the same. Start of the year is the same, and the last three functions that I want to show you are total month to date, quarter to date, and year to date. Okay, let me bring this one. It's very simple. We have this function here, total month to date, sum of sales amount, and I'm using due date as our date, drive date. Okay, we can call it. So let's select here total month to date. Let's see, come on Power BI, total quarter to date, and total year to date. That's good. Let's start at the beginning. Blah blah blah. You can see here that we have the same values. Let me remove same period last. So we have sales month to date and total month to date. Let me change the order here. You can see that sales month to date, total month to date, you can see that we have the same values for all of them. So they work pretty similar. And you can see that we have actually the exact same values for all of them. Okay, so total month to date, let me see here. Okay, total quarter to date, and total year to date. Okay, guys, so this is like pretty interesting. I showed you here, as far as I remember, 34 different functions that you can use a lot in different contexts, in different scenarios. And yeah, this helps a lot to improve your performance using Power BI. You don't have to create new functions from scratch, and it helps a lot to save your time, so you don't waste time creating, like reinventing the wheel. Okay, and here in you will find a link to download this PBIX file here in some part of the screen. I don't know if it's here, but in some place here you will find the PBIX file that you can download, and you can use it on your own. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, and it was a pleasure to me to explain all of the 34 functions that I showed you here. And if you liked it, you can share it with people that you think they will like it too. So you can help me to spread the word to other people. Okay, so once more, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.